She sat in the back row. Didn't wear a name patch. Didn't speak unless spoken to. Just a plain green ball cap, worn hoodie, notebook on her lap. No rifle, no gear. Just a pen that moved quietly while others talked about wind, drop, range, and groupings. Nobody knew who had cleared her. She wasn't on the roster. Instructor Bishop said she was. Observation support, whatever that meant. Logistics maybe. Admin. Some guest intel auditing the course. But no one really asked, because she didn't offer anything. Didn't eat with the class. Didn't stand during breaks. Just moved like she was passing through. Like she didn't need to stay long to remember everything that mattered. Carter joked the first day. Taking notes like we're in high school trig. She didn't look up. Didn't even pause her writing. The guys laughed. Bishop didn't. But he didn't stop it either. Morales sat one row up and noticed the way she listened. Not casually, intently. Like she'd heard it before but was recalibrating the details. Her pen followed the rhythm of the range calls, not the lecture. She wrote wind numbers before they were read aloud. On day 3, the class moved to the upper platform for spotting exercises. Everyone else leaned forward, struggling to track glare through scope glass. She sat back, one eye half closed, head tilted slightly like she was listening to the flags instead. Morales glanced over. She had drawn something in her notebook. A diagram, elevation lines, crosswind curves, and a single circle at 642 meters. Below it, 3 numbers. 0.5 R. Minus 1.8 drop. Exhale hold. Morales squinted. He wasn't sure what it meant. But he knew this. It wasn't the kind of note someone learning would write. It was the kind someone remembering would leave behind. By the end of the week, they stopped noticing her. She blended in. Same bench, same notebook, same quiet. No rank to salute. No voice to interrupt. Just a constant presence near the back rail of every course, every dry fire line, every post-exercise debrief. Some still joked. She's probably grading us, Carter said. Secret sniper Yelp reviews. He held up his fingers like a pretend phone. 2 stars, missed wind, cried at 600 meters. A few chuckles followed. She kept writing. Never smiled. Never corrected them. Morales started watching the notebook. It was never wide open. Always folded over, one page visible, pencil marks sharp and light. The kind of marks you could erase in one stroke. But the content, that was different. Not notes. Numbers. Ranging brackets. Mil-ladders. Drop charts written from memory, not lecture. She had sketched wind flags that hadn't been placed yet. One afternoon, during a long-range pacing session, Morales saw her pause beside a tripod-mounted spotting scope. She adjusted it, barely, just a breath of movement, then stepped away. Later, when he took the spotter position, he looked through it. The Mirage sat still in the middle of the scope, and the range marker, set to 812, was perfectly bracketed. He hadn't touched it. She had. That evening, after lights out, Morales walked the back lot behind the range shed. Just air and gravel and the sound of wind rolling through scrub. She was there, sitting on the ground with her knees up, drawing a circle in the dirt with a stick. Around it, curved lines, shallow at the edges, tight near the center. Not doodling, diagramming. He stepped closer. You shoot? She didn't look up. I listen. To what? She tapped the dirt circle gently. The drop before the wind picks it up again. Then stood, dusted off her knees, and walked past him without waiting for a reply. They were on the lower hill platform when it happened. Late afternoon. Heat pressing down like a blanket. The air shimmered across the range. Everyone was tired. One of those days where even pride starts to sag under the weight of missed shots and scorched scopes. She was sitting again, notebook balanced on one knee. Just outside the red line, where the observers stood. Same posture. Same quiet. Carter missed again. 4 inches off at 700. Too much finger. No correction. He slammed his hand on the shooting mat and rolled over. That shot was clean. Mirage must have shifted. No one responded. But he kept going. Or maybe it's hard to focus when someone's scribbling like we're in English class. He didn't say her name. Didn't need to. Everyone looked at her. She didn't flinch. Didn't stop writing. Morales stood slowly. Maybe your zero's off, he said. Carter glanced up. What? Or maybe your follow-through is trash. A few chuckles. Carter sat up. Easy, Morales. He pointed at her without looking at her. She's not even supposed to be here. Morales stepped closer. She's been right about the wind 3 days in a row. Carter scoffed. Yeah? Show me her score sheet. Morales didn't answer. He looked at her instead. She met his eyes for a second, just long enough, then stood. Walked past both of them, silent, notebook still in her hand. No retreat. No fear. Just distance. That night, Morales stayed late. He walked out to the furthest berm, past the last active target. Near the brush line, hidden under a tarp, was an old wood bench. Dusty. And used. On it sat a small paper square, anchored with a stone. 3 holes through the center. Tight. Same tear. Below it, a number. 812. The exact distance from the far hill to that bench. No scope. No instructor. No witness. Just the grouping. And the math. Morales couldn't stop thinking about the paper. 3 rounds, single tear. No spread. No correction marks. It wasn't a lucky pull. That kind of shot didn't happen by accident, especially not from the unscoped side of the range, on an unrecorded line. The number beneath it, 812, kept circling in his mind. He went back to the bench at dawn, measured the distance with his GPS app. 812.3 meters. She hadn't estimated it. She knew it. That day, during lunch, Morales ducked into the range office under the pretense of checking his equipment card. Instead, he flipped open the hardback log that tracked all outside observers. She wasn't listed, but someone had signed her in, once, 2 weeks ago. Initials only J. W. No date out. No full name. That night, Morales couldn't sleep. He typed the initials into a closed forum archive he'd once used for tracking forgotten metal citations. J. W. A handful of hits, but only one that mattered. Jack Whitaker. He clicked. Long-range reconnaissance operator. Specialized in deep observation and suppressive overwatch. Known for wind correction math done in his head. Operated in mountains, deserts, and forests with a confirmed grouping pattern 3 rounds 1 hole. Morales stared at the picture. Older man. Quiet eyes. Trident patch barely visible in the background. Deceased. No public funeral. No surviving service records. But one notation caught him. Final known team included a juvenile evac from Site Whiskey 7, recovered with full gear intact. Dependent status classified. Juvenile evac. He read it again. She wasn't just someone with a good eye. She had been there. Carried out. Maybe by him. Or with him. And if she had his math, his posture, his quiet, she wasn't observing. She was listening for something she already knew. The range ran colder the next morning. Fog clung low across the hills. Instructors set up thermal drills while candidates sipped weak coffee and rubbed grit from their scopes. She was already there. Same bench. Same notebook. Same stillness. But something was different. Her hands hovered over the page for a moment longer than usual, as if the numbers weren't new, just returning. That's when Chief Brennan arrived. Former SEAL, now senior evaluator. Rarely showed up during early phase drills. He walked slow. Scanned the line. Clipboard under one arm. Hat pulled low. He wasn't looking for her. Until he saw the notebook. He stopped mid-stride. Watched the way she adjusted her pen grip. Not up high like most people, but low near the tip, knuckle curled inward, just like. He stepped closer. Where'd you learn to hold a pen like that? He asked, voice even. She didn't look up. Same place I learned wind isn't loud. That stopped him. Slowly, he crouched beside her. What's your name? She finally looked at him. Not challenging. Just tired of being asked. Does it matter? Brennan nodded once, slowly, then reached into his breast pocket and pulled out a folded cloth square. Unwrapped it. Inside, a photo. 3 operators on a mountain ledge. One of them was Jack Whitaker. Next to him, a small figure, half his height, holding a notebook. You still carry his form, Brennan said. She didn't speak. He continued. I was there when they pulled you both out. He'd taken a round. Refused morphine until you were on the bird. Her jaw clenched, just slightly. Brennan stood. You don't need to shoot, he said. She tilted her head. You watching me now? He shook his head. I recognized you the second I saw the way you breathed before a correction. Then he turned to Morales. You ever watch her math? Morales nodded. She draws it before the wind shifts. Brennan let out a quiet breath. She's not auditing. She's remembering. The range stayed quiet. For the first time, no one asked what she was doing there. They just adjusted their scopes and watched the flags the way she did. After that day, nobody joked. Carter didn't smirk anymore. Didn't talk during drills. If anything, he started sitting farther from her. Like silence might rub off on him if he stayed close enough. She never acknowledged the change. She just moved like always, notebook in hand, steps soft, breath measured. But now, when she passed the candidates on the way to the upper ridge, they shifted slightly, not saluting, just making room. During a wind drill, Morales lost his spot. Too much heat distortion. Couldn't bracket the mirage. He hesitated, then glanced back. She was kneeling nearby, eyes half-lidded, watching the tape flutter against the barrel. She said one word. Hold. He trusted it. Seconds later, the mirage sharpened. The shot landed center. She didn't nod, didn't take credit, just turned the page in her notebook and kept drawing. Later, Morales found something slipped into his gear bag, folded in a dry patch wrap. A single page torn from her notebook, 3 curves drawn in graphite, a wind diagram, his stance, resketched from memory, and a line at the bottom. You're still breathing too high in your chest. That night, Chief Brennan approached the training roster quietly. Add her, he said. The range lead looked up. Under what name? Brennan paused, then said, Rayven. The pencil dropped. Rayven was a myth, a call sign passed around like a story too clean to be real. The sniper who never spoke. The one who folded her shots like thread through cloth. Rayven was gone. Or maybe, no one ever knew her real name. Now, she sat at the far bench, watching the ridge, sketching the arc of the wind on a blank page. Still not speaking. But finally, being heard. She was gone before the next cycle began. No announcement. No final bench session. Just an empty seat on the far line. Her notebook no longer resting on the rail. The clipboard roster still listed her under Observer Rayven, but no one filled the space beside it. Her cot, if it ever belonged to her, was stripped bare. Only a folded page remained under the mattress, a single line drawn in pencil, arcing slightly left, a wind call, and beneath it, written soft, You can't chase the shot. Let it come to you. Nobody claimed it, but Morales kept it, tucked into the back sleeve of his field manual, not for show. Just to remember how she moved, like her breath and the range were part of the same rhythm. Chief Brennan said nothing when she disappeared. He just stood by the window of the range shack that morning, coffee cooling in his hand, eyes scanning the hills like he expected to see her still, standing there, barely visible in the mirage. The bench where she used to sit stayed empty. Candidates stopped using it. One even tried to move it once, clear space for gear. Morales stopped him without raising his voice. She marked 0 from here. The guy stepped back. Didn't ask questions after that. A week later, during a final exercise, Carter locked up on a moving target. Wind shift. Cross breeze turned. The scope fogged just enough to throw his eye off center. He froze. Morales stepped in, calm now. Steadier than before. Don't rush. Remember her numbers. Carter adjusted his hold. Exhaled. Fired. It landed. Tight. They said nothing, but the change was clear. The instructors saw it too. Less ego. More stillness. Not just in trigger work, but posture, thought, even the way they folded their maps. Something had settled over the class. Not rules. A rhythm. At the end of the training cycle, Morales walked the range one last time at dusk. Dust hung low, golden light cutting shadows across the berms. At the far side, pinned to the old range map under a strip of duct tape, he found something new. A coin. Not brass. Matte black, centered with a faint crosshair. Around it, faint etching. Measure the wind. Trust the silence. No initials. No origin. But he knew whose it was. And for the first time, Morales didn't think of her as someone who had disappeared. He thought of her as someone who had moved on, to wherever stillness was needed next. After she left, they stopped using her name. Not out of forgetfulness, but out of instinct. Like saying it too often might disturb whatever calm she'd left behind. The instructors didn't bring her up. The new class never asked, but traces remained quiet and precise. Someone taped a fresh wind chart to the inside of the spotting shack. Not printed, hand-drawn. 3 curves. Elevation notes. At the bottom, the same faint phrase. Line your breath. Don't chase the wind. No one claimed authorship. No one needed to. In their final week, Morales caught the new candidates mimicking her hold. Not perfectly, but something about their grip, the tilt of their heads, the space between breath and correction, it echoed her. They didn't know why they did it. They just followed what felt right. One morning, Morales walked the upper ridge before sunrise. He carried no rifle, just the wind notebook she'd once torn the page from. The page she never took back. He found her old bench still there, dust-covered, weather-worn. He sat slowly, opened the notebook, flipped through pages that weren't his, full of math he was just beginning to understand. On the last sheet, tucked behind a folded corner, he found something new, a sketch. Simple. 2 hands, one small, one larger, adjusting a rifle stock together. Beneath it, he steadied the rifle. I learned to steady myself. There was no name, no date. But he knew who had drawn it, and who he was. Morales folded the notebook carefully and tucked it into his jacket. He didn't take the coin from the map wall. He didn't move the bench. Some things weren't meant to be held, just protected. Later that day, the class fired their final shots. When the scores were posted, no one looked at the numbers right away. They looked at the tightest group, 1 clean tear, 3 rounds, silent space between them. Morales stood back and listened to the wind move downrange, same as she had. Same as he would teach others to do. Not because it was part of the course, but because someone had left that rhythm behind. Not a name, not a legend, just a direction. And a silence that would keep speaking for her long after they'd all moved on.